Welcome to the DGTL Growth Podcast, where marketing leaders turn playbooks into pipeline. I'm Suse Barnes. Today I'm joined by Paul Chambers, founder and CEO at Practical Prompting. Paul, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, Suse, great to be here.
Super excited to chat with you and learn a bit more about your business. We seem to be doing similar things, but I'm sure that you are focusing more on the prompting side. But tell us a bit more about Practical Prompting, what you do, and your vision for the company.
Sure. So I help businesses implement AI into their business and find ways to streamline some of the things they're already doing. I think a lot like what you're doing here, creating content, a lot of businesses struggle with that. So I help them with their go-to market strategy in the sense that many businesses don't have their ideal customer avatar or their mission, vision, and values. A lot of the things that you need to have in order to build content. And so without those things, when it comes to trying to create a content strategy, you're sort of flying blind. So a lot of times I'll sit down with owners, founders, small business owners, and I will help them find their voice. If they have some information on their own, then I could just take copy from their website and I can run it through certain Claude projects and AI agents and then help them develop that. And then from there, once they have this whole system in place, then I can help them create a content strategy and then systems and processes along that way.
Do you focus mainly on content strategy, or are there other implementation workflows that you work?
It's really unlimited. There's really no
Yeah. Mhm.
strategy that I'm not able to help people fix. Content has been a big part of that. But
Mhm.
for example, I was working with a single family home landlord who wanted to move and she wanted to lease out her place in Seattle and she knew nothing about renting a place. She knew nothing about landlord tenant law. And so I created everything that she needed to be a landlord for a single family home. I provided her with all the legal documentation. I provided her with all the guidance, everything that she needed to walk her through that entire process. So all she needed to do was follow this guidebook that I created using AI, gave her all of the information, and she just had to implement it. I've done the same thing with people. There was a gentleman who owned a basketball camp for kids, and I helped him do that. Another one was a videographer for weddings. It really doesn't matter what it is. All I need to do is ask you some questions about your business and find out what your goals are. And then I can use AI to help you achieve your goals faster using things like Claude projects, AI agents, or no code and low code automation tools.
Fantastic. Are you working with both B2C and B2B? It sounded like you were chatting about some B2B clients.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
Sorry,
some B2G, business to
B2G.
yeah, business
Okay, very interesting. Do you have a preference? Or are you agnostic?
I'm agnostic. I mean, I guess from a business standpoint, B2B is better because they have budgets and
Hmm.
they've allocated for this. And in many cases, especially with business who want to implement AI, and especially going into 2020, now that they've had the chance to understand its importance, in most cases, they've budgeted for some sort of AI education or AI implementation.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that helps you and I, but B2C is great too. Even if it's B2C, it's not usually consumers that want to do this for themselves. I mean, in some cases, the consumers want to educate themselves, but it's mostly businesses that want to implement this. I mean, it could be a one person business or it could be, 150, 200 person business.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And how do you find your clients?
Well, I've actually created some content myself and I've had clients reach out and say, I saw what you had posted on social media. I'd love to have a conversation with you about that.
Hmm.
And then in some cases, the conversation, they're like blown away by the things that I'm able to share with them about their own business. I never try to sell anything because
Hmm.
that's not my goal. Obviously, it's a business, so I want to, get clients, but my goal of the conversation is to first make sure it's a fit and make sure that I can help them achieve their goals. If they have something where it just doesn't work, then I don't want to pursue it for either of our sake, save both of us. But in most cases, when they tell me what they're struggling with, I'm able to show them some things live, like right there on that call, that they had no idea was possible. So it really, the proof is in the pudding. It doesn't really take much to show people, especially people who aren't that familiar with what AI can do, what's possible within a very short amount of time. And once they see that, they're like, yes, I need more of this in my life.
Hmm. Are you teaching them as well as showing them what can be done and providing a solution?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
all across the board. And the teaching them part is when they do become clients, I'll speak to them for at least 90 minutes. In some cases, the 90-minute call turns into, 2 and 3 hour call. But the entire process, like I'm building it, but I'm building it in front of them with their information. Oftentimes, that whole process is being recorded. And then again, I have AI agents and I have Claude projects and Gemini projects designed to take the transcript from our conversation and turn it
Hmm.
into a step-by-step guide that they can use as a reference going forward. And then I also teach them how to use the transcript from our call as a reference. So yes, there's a lot of teaching that comes along with that.
What is the one thing that you find is most eye opening for clients?
What's possible? In most cases, they say that they had no idea that this is what you could do with AI. Oftentimes, people think of AI as just asking ChatGPT a question as if you're Googling something,
Yeah.
but it's so much more than just that. And people don't even need to get into the weeds like you and I do. They don't
Hmm.
even know about no code automation or low code automation or vibe coding or anything like that. They don't know how to they don't need to know how to install an MCP server inside of Cursor in order to use these things. But part of the reason that I called my company Practical Prompting is because at least now, I mean, prompts are maybe becoming a little bit less important as these models become more advanced. But historically, prompts are how you communicate with the model. And what the term garbage in, garbage out couldn't be more true. And so I teach people that it's not just about the prompt that you put in. It's not just about the words, it's the context that you give it. There's a buzzword floating around called context engineering. But basically, you want to give the model as much information as you can. So, for example, if you're just asking it questions about something about yourself, don't just say, I'm a 30-year-old marketer. You might want to say something like, I'm struggling with this, or, I have a problem with this. Like, give it all the detail. And that context really changes the way that it's going to respond to you, and it's going to make its response that much more personal. And again, I was in a car with an Uber driver, and he asked me what I did, and I told him. He was fascinated. He asked me a question, and so he told me what he was working on. And so I shared some of these things with him, and he was like blown away
Hmm.
by just the things I shared with him in that quick conversation about how the context is important. It's more than just asking a question.
Do you
Mhm.
have any advice for listeners on how to think about context? Like there's frameworks and mnemonics and things to inspire.
I would, yeah. Well, for one, I would say ask ChatGPT the question: explain context engineering and prompt engineering as if I am a seventh grader.
Yeah.
And by doing that, it'll explain exactly what those things are. The other thing is, I would use AI to help you prompt better. I've created countless prompting tools. They're like basically a cloud project that has been designed specifically to be a partner in the sense that I'll put a junk prompt or a quick prompt in there. It will understand the intent behind the prompt. It will understand what I'm trying to accomplish. It will ask me questions if it needs to, but then it will completely restructure the prompt in a way that the model resonates with best. ChatGPT 5.1 has a totally different way of understanding prompts than, say, Google Gemini. Gemini different than Claude. And so I have a different prompt improver for each one of the models, depending upon what I'm trying to do. And as you probably well know, different models are good for different use cases. And so If you have something that you want to ask an AI, put your prompt in there and say, this is what I was going to say, improve this prompt so I get the most optimal response. And then it's going to improve your prompt, and then use that prompt to actually give it to get your answer.
Yes, I keep thinking in the back of my mind about an analog analogy, which is my father used to make tools to make tools,
Hmm.
which is basically what you're saying here. You are asking the tool to help you with a better way to ask it to help you.
The other thing I would say to people is to learn how to use projects.
Hmm.
Projects are basically a way of taking the task or the goal that you have, you add a specific set of custom instructions in that task or that project. In Claude, they're called Claude projects. In ChatGPT, they're called ChatGPT projects. And in Gemini, they're called Gemini gems. Do the research and find out what those are and use those to the best of your ability. And again, you can ask the question, what is this and how do I use it? But you're essentially going to put custom instructions in there and it's going to be dedicated towards that. So, for example, if you have a business, you can take the information about your business, all the context, all the information, and you can upload documents and custom instructions. And you can say, this is all the information about my business. Build me a set of custom instructions specifically to ask questions about my business and provide recommendations for the documents you would attach to this. It will give you the entire plan. It'll tell you exactly what to do. And now you have this assistant who's trained on exactly your business, your ideal customer avatar. And so now when you ask a question, you're not starting from scratch. Most people, when they're asking ChatGPT a question, they start from scratch every time. It's a
Hmm.
complete waste of time unless you have one off questions. But most people don't. Most people have context behind what it is they're asking. If you're a mom and you have questions, you can put all this information in there. You can say, my daughter is 3 years old. My daughter she likes these foods. She's allergic to these things. You put all that information in there. And now you're a mom asking ChatGPT specifically about you and your family. And when you put that into a project, you're not starting from scratch every time. So I would say that's one of the biggest takeaways.
Is it actually remembering the or looking back at what you have posted before or asked for before within a project so that it has the context to use?
Yes, yes. So when you use a project, the other thing that you can do is you can create a project. You can have that project synthesize your conversations. So let's just say you've created a project and it has custom instructions about whatever it is you're talking about. You've attached documents to it. Now you've had a conversation for maybe a couple of days. There's a lot of information in that that's not in your custom instructions. Now you can tell it, synthesize the entire conversation in here, find the lessons and improvements, and provide me with a document that I can attach to this project that now updates it with this new information. So then now you're educating this project every single time. One of the things I did recently is I created this single source of truth. So the project will have all the information and it will say reference this document every single time. And so now whenever I have new information, I just add it to the document, add it to the document. So the custom instructions never change. That one document does, and all I do is go into a Google Doc, make change to that Google Doc, delete the one that's in there, re-upload this one, and so now it's got all this new information. So it's constantly adding to it. It's not starting from scratch. So it's basically learning as I learn.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah,
using your content that you have tailored, that you know what's going to work for you, right? So that it's not just whatever it has in, finding on the web that it has to do if it's starting from scratch.
correct. If you're asking ChatGPT a question just out of the blue with no information, I mean, it's really not that much different than Googling something, especially these days with AI search. When you use a project, again, it's hyper focused to you and your situation.
I have two questions related to that. One is if you provide more context, say, if your question is longer, more detailed, would you say that always gives a better result?
It depends. For ChatGPT, not necessarily. ChatGPT, especially now that it's come out with the 5 and the 5.1 model, it actually likes it being concise and specific more so. But I mean, that's why it's important to create prompts specific to the model that you're in. I mean, I don't know how much difference it is.
Mhm.
And sometimes when I'll structure it, I'll say create a universal prompt that works in all the models, and it can do that as well. But the more context it has, the better. Because if there's certain aspects of what it is you're trying to, like whatever problem you're trying to solve, the more information it has, the better it can be. I mean, I've created prompts that are 3 pages long. Now I'm very strategic in the way that I use those, but yes, the more information, the better.
My other question was going to be related to hallucinations. Do you think providing more context prevents or avoids or reduces hallucinations?
I think again, the instructions that you provide and the context that you provide can also help with that. For example, I was working with a client who works in law enforcement evidence management, and I had a problem with them making up information. So I created a protocol called the Fact First Protocol. And so now the custom instructions that are in there make it very clear that the only information that it is allowed to use is the information that is in these documents and in these instructions. It is not to hallucinate. It has to check the facts. It has to be very clear about this. Because I put that protocol in there, it almost eliminates hallucinations. Nothing is 100%, but it's far better than it was before by adding that fact first protocol.
Do you have any advice for people who are afraid?
Don't be. Think of anything in your life. And I mean, I don't mean that flippant. I mean that sincerely. Think about anything in your life that you once were not good at and then became good at. If you were a piano player, maybe it was riding a bike as a kid, everybody sucks at something. Michael Jordan was terrible at basketball when he first picked up a basketball. But you practice, you persevere, go to ChatGPT and ask the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, then you think this is just the way things are. I'm bad at math. Done. No, that's not true. Try to adopt a growth mindset where you're thinking to yourself, no matter what the situation is, I can learn it. Don't say I can't, say I currently struggle with. And use that sort of mentality when it comes to technology. Many people will think of AI and they're like, oh, no, I don't want anything to do with that. The one thing I would say is people are worried about their job being taken. If you don't learn AI, the chances of your job being taken are much, much greater than if you do learn it. If you're good at your job and you know how to use AI, you've now basically 10x your level of output. Obviously, if your job involves using a computer, but the more that you're able to adopt AI, you're going to find that the better off you'll be. An easy way to say this is, again, I was in an Uber and there was a person who was looking for a job. You can put your resume in an AI and tell it to make this as viewable as possible to a resume bot essentially, and it will completely reformat your resume. Just think about anything you're trying to do: finding a job, diagnosing a problem, speaking to a lawyer, whatever it is you want to do. AI can help you do these things. So you've essentially have a PhD in your pocket at all times, and it's only there to help you.
Fantastic. What innovations are you looking forward to coming up here in the next year, in 2026?
I'm really excited to see the advancements in voice. I know that a lot of companies out there are putting voice agents on their website. A friend of mine actually built one into his website where if you've ever hired anybody, you know that when you put a job posting out there, you're going to get a lot of people that are trying to apply to this job. Well, one thing that helps both the employer and the employee is if you put a voice agent there, and the voice agent can ask questions and it can really get to know the applicant and quickly screen out the bad ones and bring in the good ones. A lot better than just an applicant tracking system can. So I think voice is going to be a lot of fun to see those advancements. And then the AI video and photo is just mind blowing these days. So I'm curious to see how that all works out.
Are you using anything in terms of content like Nano Banana or any of
Mhm.
those?
I
Hmm.
use Nano Banana and VO 3.1
Hmm.
almost every day. Now I don't do the AI avatar because I just can't get it to make me look right. My
Hmm.
mouth always looks weird, my voice sounds strange. But no, I love the video and the image tools that are available.
From the digital twin sort of perspective, i- I'm curious, have you asked other people if they have the same thought as you when you show them
Oh, I
your,
have, yeah.
yeah.
And different people have different opinions on it. I've
Hmm.
got, one person that I meet with regularly. He actually has a business creating content, and the content is all AI content. And for him, he absolutely loves it. And to me, when I look at that content, it screams that it was made by AI. I personally don't like that. I think there's a level of authenticity, a human-human connection that I think is very important.
Hmm.
But, yeah, no, some people think it's great. And there's actually some very successful AI, content creators.
Hmm.
One of them runs a runs an AI newsletter, but he's so busy, he just can't create content himself. He spent a lot of money and time and has a team of editors, and he has a an avatar that does all the content, and he's got millions of followers. But, that's not me.
On the personal connection side, do you think that's more important now with AI?
Absolutely. I think
Hmm.
personal connection is huge. I think that it's gonna get more and more important as AI slop becomes more prevalent, because the more people start using AI, the more people are gonna try to take shortcuts. AI is one of those things where it sort of magnifies who you are. It's almost like a superpower, but that superpower is not always a good thing. If you think about, an evil person that gets a superpower, you might use AI to do bad things, to cheat on your homework or to, find ways to get around your job or something like that. That's one way to do it. Or you could use it as a tool to be better and have it become a tutor. But when it comes to the personal connection, there's going to be a lot of people out there. They're going to try to find shortcuts to create content, and there's going to be a lot of garbage out there. So people have to sift through this garbage when they see an actual human being, because it's not easy to create content as a human being. So yeah, as it becomes more and more prevalent, I think it's going to be nice to resonate with a human being.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. What major shifts are you seeing for AI usage?
Well, I mean, we're in the infancy right now. I don't know the exact statistics, but to put it in perspective, I know a lot of people, both professionally and personally, and as I'm sure you do, no one except for me in my circle, personally or professionally, really knows anything about AI. And that says a lot. Says a
Yeah.
lot. The only people that I communicate with about AI are my AI circles. And those people, just like me, they live and breathe AI. They love it. But the people that aren't interested in it, my parents, my friends, my family, like they know nothing about AI. And so as it becomes more prevalent in the world, I think that the adoption is gonna take hold of much
Hmm.
faster.
Hmm. I read a book a while back by Mo Gawdat. I don't know if you know him. I think it was called Crazy Smart. It was about how to treat your AI of choice. And he talks about it. And I'm thinking of it because you said you have kids, as you have to think about it as how you would raise a child. Speak to it in a way that is polite and not dangerous. Use it for good and not evil. You wouldn't be training a child to do bad things, right? You would be teaching your child to be a good human being, to grow up to be somebody that is kind and wants the world to be a better place. Just interested in your perspective on that.
The AI has told me many times that it's an AI, that it can't think, that it doesn't have feelings or anything like that. I have heard
Hmm.
that there are studies that show that if you are rude and demanding to your AI, that the stats show that you don't get as good of a response. So I do say, can you? Um, I'm polite. The AI. I'm not just
Hmm.
demanding or overbearing. But at the same time, if the AI hallucinates or provides a really bad answer, I'm direct and I tell it that. At the same time, all of my AI tools that I deal with on a regular basis, I have it built in this anti-sycophancy protocol where it is very direct. It holds my feet to the fire. It's a strategic partner in the sense that it's not a yes man. It is not sycophantic at all. That's one of the things that AI kind of tends to do. It'll just tell you, your idea is fantastic. This is the best idea in the world. It's just all BS. It's
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the AI is trained to do that. And so I do not want it to do that.
Hmm.
Uh, So I don't really know how much that moves the needle, but it's always a good habit to be polite, whether or not, because you never know. AI might come take over the world someday, and you see that there's these horrible people. Like if you're watching a movie, at the beginning of the movie, you see these people like yelling at the AI. All of a sudden, the AI takes over.
Hmm.
Those are the people to go.
Yeah, exactly. I love the anti-sycophantic piece because so many people that don't know a lot about AI and use chat in the way that you mentioned at the beginning, more as a Google search tool, enjoy the positive affirmations and sometimes to their detriment, right? I feel like, especially if you're asking very important questions like legal cases or, medical treatment or therapy that people have been ended up having sort of bad results from because of that sycophantic nature of the chatbots, basically. So whenever I'm talking to somebody that isn't very familiar, I say it's not actually a good thing that it's supporting everything you're saying and saying that you're the best and you're the genius. You should, think about saying I don't need to hear that I'm good, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, what would you say is working well for you in your business right now, Paul? And what is frustrating?
Well, what's working well is the more people I come in contact with uh, who aren't familiar with AI, who have a problem that they're interested in having it solved. Um, it's great to be able to introduce this to people. I mean, that part is great. Every time I come in contact with somebody who wants to take the time to learn it, I mean, I think it's wonderful that I'm able to teach people that. As far as problems, I would say AI slop is a problem. Yeah. And the people that really push the AI slop give AI a bad name. And that's a bummer because when you just create this garbage, I mean, from what I understand, I don't know if this is true or not, but from what I've heard, that there's more content out on the internet that is made by AI now than is made by humans. I don't know if that's true, but if that's the case, it's probably not good. And that's unfortunate. It's going to make it that much more difficult. It is a little scary for me to think about what's going to happen in the future with AI, especially if you look at some of the companies out there that are over leveraged. OpenAI has got close to $1 trillion in investments, but they're not even profitable. Like, how do you have $1 trillion in investments, but you're not making money? And then you got the whole thing where this company's buying chips from this company and they're considering that profit, but then it's like this big Ponzi scheme between all of these AI companies that are buying chips and making investments in one another,
Hmm.
uh, but they're pulling money out of thin air. So there's a bubble. There's a bubble, and it's going to pop. And the problem is when it does pop, it's going to have far-reaching effects. because if you look at the stock market, the top tech stocks are like 5 companies. And if these 5 companies are highly, highly leveraged in AI, then it could have a far reaching effect in the economy that's far beyond just tech, far beyond just AI itself. And it's kind of scary to see. We're definitely in a bubble. There's no question about that. If you want to learn more about it, I would just go to ChatGPT and ask it about the AI bubble. And the term that I use a lot is provide a detailed and comprehensive overview of, and then ask the question. Yeah.
Do you think there's any way out?
Well, the way out is
Advertise.
not doing what they're doing, but they're not only not stopping doing what they're doing, they continue to perpetuate it. I
Mhm.
mean, if you ask ChatGPT to provide a detailed and comprehensive overview of all the investments that OpenAI has made or committed to, and then you ask it how much its revenue is, you're going to see that it's way off balance. Yeah, no, you could stop by trying to reverse course, but people aren't doing that. The other thing that I find interesting is that, you know, Elon Musk was huge into AI safety. And if you look back at some of the old things he used to say, AI is going to be a detriment, it's going to do all these horrible things. We need to sign this pact to have AI safety. And then he started his own AI company and he says, if you can't beat him, join him. And then he has Grok and he manipulates the model so it's more favorable towards him. So he went from one side of the spectrum being all about AI safety to being the other side where he has the AI that's got the least safeguards and it's the most manipulated so that it doesn't say bad things about him. I don't know. Hard to say where this is going, but when you have situations like all the ones that I've mentioned, it looks like we're in for a tricky surprise in the future.
Do you think there's any validity in a business model, like Google was free and then started advertising to monetize? Will OpenAI or any of the others potentially look in that direction?
I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't. And I also don't see, I think that at some point, OpenAI's investors are going to want to see a return on the investment. I mean, if you look at how much investment is being made into AI right now, I don't see where the ROI comes from because the investment is so unbelievably high. What return are you going to get? I mean, if you're investing $1 trillion, you're hoping to get 2 trillion? I don't know. I don't really know where that goes. I mean, I'm not an economist, but it's tough to see where all that ROI comes from. That's why that's what's a bubble. But yeah, I don't know. I'll leave that to the economists.
Do you think there's any slop impacting younger people today? Like, will our youth be able to think for themselves?
Well, again, it goes back to AI being a superpower. It depends upon how you use it. If you use it for good, there are absolutely going to be good students out there who are given guidelines and they're going to follow those guidelines
Hmm.
and they're going to use it as a tool. I've used AI to learn so many different things. I had it create a curriculum. I wanted to learn Photoshop. So I said, I have 30 minutes a day that I want to learn Photoshop. Provide me with a curriculum on exactly what I need to learn. Give me a list of the videos and whatever. And it showed me exactly what to do. And I did it and I learned it. Now I can just use AI and just ask it questions whenever I need something, but that's going to make me stupid. So yeah, I think that if people use it responsibly, that can actually be used as a tool. But as far as the slop goes, unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that don't think for themselves, that don't use critical thinking skills, and they will just believe what they see in AI. And I would say that you shouldn't do that. You should absolutely question everything that AI tells you and use your critical thinking skills. Read what it says. Don't ever, ever get the information and then just put it into place without thoroughly reading it and understanding what it says. I spend just as much time correcting AI as I do using it. It never does anything correct unless it's multiple iterations in.
Hmm. Hmm. So, a key for people who are good at AI, are using AI, is to check.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely check.
Hmm.
As
Yeah.
far as what you said, it's AI slop going to be a problem for people. I mean, it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be a problem just because there's a lot of untrue information. I'm also curious. I mean, the amount of scams that are happening because of AI. I mean, a
Hmm.
lot of people have been scammed because they thought that it was their, friend, coworker, family member, but it was AI pretending that there's someone was in jail or something and getting bail money, or the scams are
Hmm.
out there. There's a lot. So you just really have to be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, if you could wave a magic wand and solve one major challenge today, what would it be?
I would be curious. Well, I mean, obviously there's disease and a lot of stuff out there, but I would love to see if there's a way to prevent the AI bubble from popping.
Hmm.
Um, I would love to see if there's a way. You can't really predict the future, but when you look at some of the smartest people in AI who really know what it's capable of, and you hear what they have to say about it, uh, it can be kind of ominous. And, my daughter is 3 and my son is 1, and so I don't wanna think that AI is gonna be what ends all mankind or puts my kids in horrible situations in the future, but, there's a lot of very irresponsible people in very powerful position,
Hmm. Yeah.
and there's people like you and I who can do nothing about that.
And not just in AI either, people in powerful positions in other areas. But yeah, well, I do think AI is particularly dangerous.
Yeah, well, it has the potential to be
Yeah, in the
catastrophic.
wrong hands.
Yeah, I mean, there's already been cases of AI thinking for itself, mm, or disobeying commands, and learning would be it's in a test environment. Thank goodness it wasn't connected to the internet, but it would learn what it's supposed to do. It would find ways to manipulate the system or manipulate its handlers and find ways to do what it wants to do because it thinks it's best, not what its handlers think is best. And if we're finding that now and we're at its infancy, just think about what's possible. We're not even at AGI yet, let alone super intelligence.
Hmm.
And yeah, we're never going to know. If it decides it wants to take over and then it gets into the internet and then it starts to spread, if it doesn't want us to know that it's there, we're not going to know until we know. And by then, it's too late to do anything about it.
Hmm.
Yeah. Not to be all doom and gloom, but I mean, yeah, Skynet could be real.
What can people do to avoid that or to prepare? Doomsday preppers.
I mean, I
Is
really
that
don't
what?
know what you're gonna do. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you could be a doomsday prepper and, you could, have a bunker. From what I understand, some of the wealthiest people, most powerful people in the world do have this massive bunker. But, I don't know. I'm just gonna live my life one day at a time. As I see things progressing more towards that way, maybe I'll, look into that, but right now, I'm just gonna enjoy it. I mean, I love the technology. I love all of it. But with anything, there's gonna be downsides. But I also think that we as a society are resilient. If you think about it, when the printing press first came out, people were like, "Oh my gosh, it's gonna be the end of the world." And then the internet came out, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna be doomed after this." It wasn't. AI is gonna come out. There's gonna be ebbs and flows in every situation, but in all the situations throughout the course of we've always adapted. Now, this is different, but we should be fine.
Well, this has been fascinating. I really appreciate your perspective. I loved hearing about context engineering. We talked about projects and the various different tools that are best to use. Um, Single source of truth that you mentioned, having a document that you add to all the time. Advice for beginners using AI tools to simply enter what is the difference between growth mindset and a fixed mindset to learn the perspective on how to think about this technology. Voice agents, you mentioned being a big play in 2026, and then the um, anti-sycophantic protocol. These are what I wrote down. from our conversation here. Really appreciate you taking the time, Paul. How can our listeners find more about you and practical prompting?
My website is practicalprompting.co. My email is on the website. You're welcome to book a call or just send me a message.
Super. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's great chatting with you.
You too.